No, my dear friends, once I was traveling from Pune to Mumbai, and as usual, the traffic was so generous. It gave me ample time for contemplation. As I sat there watching cars honking, people shouting, some sleeping behind the wheel as if the seat were a bed, I started thinking, what are we all really racing for? What does it even mean to win in life? Because truly speaking, in that traffic jam, nobody was winning, we were all stuck. Many of us live life like that traffic, honking loudly to be heard, impatiently switching lanes, comparing our speed with others, thinking that reaching a little earlier will make us happier. But friends, here's the truth. Winning in life is not about getting ahead of others, it's about getting ahead of yourself. Let me share a small story. One day a young man came to me after a session and said, Gaur Gopal Das ji, I feel like I'm losing in every area of life. My friends are buying cars, getting married, posting vacations on Instagram, and I'm just there. I smiled and asked, who told you that you're losing? He said, well, I can see it. Look at them. And I replied, my dear boy, if you keep running someone else's race, you'll always feel like you're losing even when you're ahead. The problem is that we've all defined winning through someone else's lens. Society tells us, get good marks, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids, and one day you'll die successful. But life is not a checklist. It's a journey. And a journey is not about speed, it's about direction. You're going fast in the wrong direction, you're not progressing. You're just accelerating your failure. I remember during my engineering college days, everyone was obsessed with placements. We were all preparing for interviews, making resumes, memorizing answers. One of my friends said, I'm getting into a top company, my life is set. I asked, are you happy? He said, that's not important now. Once I get the job, I'll be happy. And I told him, my friend, if happiness is always in the next step, you'll never find it in the present step. Winning in life isn't about reaching a place, it's about feeling fulfilled while you walk the path. And that's what I want to share with you today. 5 rules that will help you not just win in the world's eyes, but win in your own heart. But before we get to those rules, let's understand what's actually stopping us from living a truly winning life. Because unless we understand the disease, we can't apply the right medicine. You see, when we were children, nobody had to tell us to smile. Nobody had to tell us to dream. We could find joy in a small balloon or a paper boat. But as we grew up, our smiles became conditional on achievements, on validation, on success. We started saying, when this happens, then I'll be happy. Childhood happiness was unconditional. Adult happiness is full of conditions. That's why, even though we've grown older, we haven't necessarily grown wiser. Once I was speaking at a corporate event and I asked the audience, how many of you have achieved everything you once dreamed of? A few hands went up. Then I asked, how many of you feel truly satisfied? Those same hands went down quietly. And I told them, that's because success without peace is the slowest form of failure. Friends, the modern world teaches us how to make a living, but forgets to teach us how to make a life. We learn how to earn, but not how to yearn. We learn to count our salary, but not to count our blessings. We learn to build careers, but not character. That's where the imbalance begins. In ancient times, wisdom was not just about knowledge. It was about how to live. The Bhagavad Gita doesn't teach you how to win against others. It teaches you how to win within. Arjuna's battlefield is not just Kurukshetra, it's the battlefield inside each one of us, between doubt and faith, between ego and humility, between fear and courage. And so, when we talk about winning in life, we're not talking about trophies, medals, or bank balances. We're talking about mastering ourselves. Because the biggest victory is not over others, it's over your own weaknesses. I'll tell you one more small story. Once a king declared a race in his kingdom. The winner would receive a golden crown. Many strong, fast, and ambitious runners participated. Among them was one man who wasn't the fastest, but he ran with a smile. The race started and everyone dashed ahead. Halfway through, this smiling man saw an old woman struggling to lift a bundle of sticks. He stopped, helped her, and then continued running. He reached the finish line last. Everyone laughed, saying, "You lost." But the king got up, removed the crown, and placed it on his head. The crowd was shocked. The king said, "The race was never about speed, it was about heart." That's what I want you to remember as we begin this journey together. The race of life is not about finishing first, but about finishing fulfilled. My dear friends, life is not a competition, it's a contribution. Don't just focus on how much you can take, think about how much you can give. The real winners in life are not those who accumulate the most, but those who appreciate the most. So as we embark on this reflection about the 5 rules to win in life, let's not think of them as formulas to outshine others, but as principles to outgrow ourselves. Let's aim to live a life so meaningful that even when we're gone, our smile remains in people's memories. You see, everyone wants to win, but not everyone knows what game they're playing. The first step to winning is to choose the right game. If your game is comparison, you'll lose peace. If your game is compassion, you'll gain joy. There's a lovely verse in Sanskrit, Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati. As you think, so you become. If your thoughts are filled with envy, you'll become restless. If your thoughts are filled with gratitude, you'll become peaceful. Winning in life, therefore, begins in the mind. Before you conquer the world, you must conquer your thoughts. And before you change your circumstances, you must change your consciousness. That's why today, as we move forward, I want you to reflect, not just listen, but feel. These 5 rules that I'll share with you are not philosophical ideas. They are practical tools that I've seen transform lives, including my own. Friends, life is not happening to you, it's responding to you. If you smile at life, life will smile back. If you complain, life will give you more reasons to complain. The question is, what vibration are you sending out into the world? Remember, the world doesn't need more successful people, it needs more peaceful people. Because peaceful people are the ones who spread light. And that light is the real definition of winning. My dear friends, before we talk about the rules to win in life, we must understand what's holding us back from winning in the first place. You see, most people don't lose because life is unfair. They lose because they don't even know what game they're playing. There are 3 main problems that keep people stuck: comparison, confusion, and consumption. These are like the 3 thieves that quietly steal your peace and purpose while you're busy chasing what looks like success. Let's start with the first one, comparison. One day, after a talk at a university, a young lady came up to me and said, "Gaur Gopal Das ji, I feel so demotivated when I open social media. Everyone seems to be doing better than me." I smiled and said, "My dear, social media is a highlight reel, not a behind-the-scenes documentary. See, people post their perfect moments, the vacation photos, the candlelight dinners, the promotions, but nobody posts their frustrations, fights, or failures. So we end up comparing our real life with their edited one. And of course, we feel miserable. It's like going to a movie set and comparing your living room with it. You'll always feel inferior because what you're seeing there is lighting, makeup, and angles, not reality. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy quietly. You may have everything you once prayed for, but you still feel incomplete because someone else seems to have more. Once, I met a businessman who was doing extremely well. He had a successful company, a beautiful family, and great health. But he told me, "I don't feel successful." I asked why. He said, "Because my friend just bought a private jet." I smiled and said, "So the measurement of your happiness now depends on your friend's flight plan." The truth is, comparison blinds us to our own blessings. We stop being grateful for what we have because we're too busy staring at what others possess. And when gratitude goes down, frustration goes up. The Bhagavad Gita says, envy and greed are the gateways to hell. It's not a mythological hell, it's a psychological one. You can have a comfortable home, a loving family, and a stable income. Yet if envy lives inside you, your mind becomes a furnace. So, the first problem that stops people from winning is this subtle disease of comparison. We look left and right so much that we forget to look up and within. The second problem is confusion. We live in an age of endless options. What to study, where to work, whom to marry, what to wear, what to eat. There's a buffet of choices every day. And while choices are supposed to bring freedom, too many of them bring paralysis. A young man once said to me, "Swamiji, I have 5 career options and I don't know which one to choose. I'm scared of making the wrong decision." I told him, "My dear, the only wrong decision is the one you never make." People are not suffering from lack of opportunities anymore. They are suffering from an overdose of opportunities. And with that overdose comes anxiety. Our minds keep playing the what if game. What if I choose wrong? What if I fail? What if people judge me? And in trying to answer those questions, we forget to live. There's a beautiful saying, "The man who tries to chase 2 rabbits catches none." Similarly, when our focus is scattered, our energy gets divided. When I joined the monastery, people thought I had given up life. But the truth is, I had just simplified it. Instead of chasing 10 things, I decided to master one, myself. So the problem is not that we don't have enough to do, it's that we're doing too much without clarity. And clarity doesn't come from overthinking, it comes from inner stillness. The third problem is consumption. Every day we consume so much news, information, social media, entertainment. Our minds have become like overstuffed hard drives. We scroll more than we sleep, we watch more than we read, and we react more than we reflect. There's a difference between being informed and being overwhelmed. Today, we know everything about celebrities but nothing about ourselves. Once, I asked an audience, "How many of you check your phone before you brush your teeth in the morning?" Almost every hand went up. I said, "So, our first prayer of the day is to the phone, not to God." Friends, if we don't control our attention, someone else will. And whoever controls your attention controls your life. Information is supposed to make us wise, but uncontrolled consumption makes us restless. It's like overeating. You feel full but not nourished. That's why the mind feels tired even when the body is resting, because it's been running marathon after marathon through endless feeds and notifications. So let's summarize these problems. We compare and lose gratitude. We're confused and lose direction. We overconsume and lose peace. And the result, we feel like we're moving but not progressing, busy but not fulfilled, surrounded by people yet feeling lonely. A student once asked me, "Swamiji, why is life so complicated?" I smiled and said, "Because we are complicated. Life was simple when we loved people and used things. Now we love things and use people." This is why, despite having more resources than ever, people feel emptier than ever. The outer world has advanced, but the inner world has collapsed. We have bigger houses but smaller hearts. We have more followers but less connection. We have more degrees but less wisdom. And so, my dear friends, winning in life isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting what doesn't matter. If you want to drive faster, you don't keep adding I to the car, you remove it. Similarly, if you want to move faster in life, remove comparison, confusion, and overconsumption. But to remove them, we need principles, rules that ground us, guide us, and help us stay centered no matter what happens. Just like a kite flies high only because of the string that holds it down, these rules will be your grounding string. Without them, you may fly for a while, but the wind of life will eventually blow you off course. So, what are these rules? How do we rise above the noise, the envy, the uncertainty, and the overload? How do we truly win? Not just in the world's eyes, but in our own conscience. That's what we'll explore next. Because remember, problems are not roadblocks, they are signboards. They show you where the correction is needed. Once you fix that direction, success follows naturally. Let's now talk about the first two rules. The first steps toward transforming your inner game and learning how to truly win in life. Now that we've seen the problems that hold us back, comparison, confusion, and overconsumption, let's talk about the solutions. Because awareness without action is like reading a recipe without cooking the meal. It sounds good, but it won't fill your stomach. So today, let's start with the first two rules to win in life. Rule number 1. Master your mind before you chase the world. A man once asked me, Swamiji, how can I change my life? I said, first, learn to manage your mind. He said, but I'm trying to change my job, my relationships, my circumstances. I smiled and said, my dear, if your mind is disturbed, you'll carry that disturbance wherever you go. You can change the location, but not the destination. You see, the mind is like a projector. Whatever movie plays inside it is what you see outside. If your inner world is chaotic, even peaceful situations will look stressful. If your inner W, all is calm, even storms will look manageable. The Bhagavad Gita calls the mind the best friend and the worst enemy. The same mind that can take you to enlightenment can also drag you into frustration. It depends on who's in control, you or your mind. One day, a disciple asked his guru, Master, why does my mind wander so much when I meditate? The guru gave him a glass of water and said, hold this glass and walk around the temple without spilling a drop. After he returned, the guru asked, did your mind wander? The disciple said, no, I was completely focused on not spilling the water. The guru smiled and said, that's how you train your mind, give it a clear purpose. Our problem is that we leave our minds untrained and then expect peace. It's like leaving a monkey in your living room and wondering why the furniture is broken. Friends, if you can't control what's inside you, you'll always be controlled by what's outside you. Someone will say something, and your mood will change. A post will appear online, and your peace will vanish. A delay will happen, and your patience will evaporate. But when you master your mind, you become unshakable. You still experience challenges, but they don't control your inner weather. How do we master the mind? Through awareness, discipline, and gratitude. Awareness means noticing your thoughts. Don't fight them, just observe them. When you observe your mind, you disempower its chaos. Discipline means giving your mind structure. Wake up with purpose, not with your phone. Spend a few minutes in silence, prayer, or reflection. As I often say, the way you start your morning sets the tone for your day. And gratitude is the medicine for mental madness. When you start counting your blessings, your mind stops counting your problems. Every morning before you rush into the world, ask yourself, what am I thankful for today? It could be as simple as the breath you just took, the roof above your head, or the people who love you. Gratitude shifts the focus from what's missing to what's present. Remember, my dear friends, mastering your mind is not about controlling every thought. It's about not letting every thought control you. When you learn to rule your mind, you automatically learn to win in life. Because peace is not found in perfect circumstances. It's found in a trained mind. Now let's move to the second rule. Rule number 2, serve before you deserve. Everyone today is asking, what can I get from life? Very few are asking, what can I give? But here's the divine paradox. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you serve, the more you deserve. Once I visited a corporate office and the CEO told me, Swamiji, our employees aren't motivated. They just do the bare minimum. I asked, do you appreciate them when they do well? He said, why should I? They're just doing their job. I smiled and said, then don't expect extraordinary effort from people you treat ordinarily. Service and appreciation are the fuels of human connection. Whether it's in your family, your workplace, or your community, when you serve others, you ignite their hearts, and in return, your own heart expands. There's a beautiful story from the life of a monk. Every morning he would clean the temple floor long before anyone arrived. One day another monk asked, why do you do this? You're a senior monk. Let someone else clean. He smiled and said, I don't clean the floor, I clean my mind. Service purifies the heart, it removes selfishness and replaces it with selflessness. And that's where true fulfillment begins. In our lives, we often chase validation. We want people to recognize us, praise us, appreciate us. But the secret is, when you serve genuinely, recognition becomes irrelevant. The act itself becomes the reward. I remember during a talk in London, a gentleman came up and said, "Swamiji, I've done so much for my company, but nobody appreciates it. It's so frustrating." I told him, "My dear, do your best not because someone is watching, but because you are watching. Don't work for applause, work for purpose. When you shift from what can I get to what can I give, you start living, not just existing. You see, rivers never drink their own water, trees never eat their own fruits, and the sun never shines for itself. Everything in nature serves others. That's why nature is abundant. But humans, when we become self-centered, we start feeling lack, even when surrounded by plenty. So if you want to truly win, serve. Help someone smile. Encourage someone who's struggling. Share your knowledge, your time, your kindness. I once met a lady who was going through depression. She told me, "Swamiji, I don't feel like living." I gently said, "Find someone who needs your help." She started volunteering at an orphanage, teaching kids in the evenings. A few months later, she came back glowing with joy. I asked, "What changed?" She said, "For the first time, I felt needed." My dear friends, sometimes the fastest way to heal yourself is to help someone else. Service is not just an act, it's an attitude. You can serve through a smile, through listening, through empathy, through small acts of kindness that ripple through the world. And remember, when you serve, you create invisible wealth, love, respect, trust, and goodwill. These are the currencies that never lose value. Winning in life is not about how high you rise, but about how many lives you lift along the way. Let me share a small reflection here. Once a wealthy man asked a saint, "How can I find peace?" The saint said, "Go and feed 10 hungry people." The man did so and came back. "I did it, but I still don't feel peaceful." The saint smiled and said, "Then feed 10 more. But this time, don't take pictures. Service without ego brings peace. Service with ego brings exhaustion." When you serve with love, your heart expands. When you serve for recognition, your ego expands. One gives joy, the other gives anxiety. Choose wisely. So, the second rule to win in life is simple. Serve before you deserve. Don't wait to become rich, powerful, or famous to start giving. Give now, from whatever you have, wherever you are. Because life doesn't reward the biggest giver, it rewards the most genuine one. My dear friends, as we move forward, remember the first 2 rules. Master your mind and serve before you deserve are the foundation. They teach us to win from within and win through giving. Now let's go deeper into the next part, rules 3 and 4, which will show us how to turn pain into purpose and how to stay grounded while we grow. Now that we've understood the first 2 rules, master your mind and serve before you deserve, let's go deeper. Because once you start gaining inner control and selfless purpose, life will begin to test you, not to break you, but to shape you. That leads us to rule number 3, turn your pain into purpose. My dear friends, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Everyone in this world faces challenges, failures, heartbreaks, betrayals, health issues, but what differentiates winners from losers is how they respond to that pain. You see, diamonds are made under pressure, not in comfort. Flowers bloom after enduring rain and heat. Even gold is purified by fire. So why do we think we can grow without pain? Once I met a young man after a talk who told me, "Swamiji, I lost my job. I feel like life is punishing me." I looked at him and said, "Maybe life isn't punishing you. Maybe it's preparing you." He looked confused. "Ed," I continued, "sometimes life removes what's good to make space for what's great." He nodded slowly and smiled. A few months later, he wrote to me that losing that job pushed him to start his own business, something he had always dreamed of but never dared to try. His pain became his purpose. Friends, pain is not the end of your story. It's often the beginning of a stronger. The problem is when pain comes, we resist it. We keep asking, why me? But I tell you, ask what for instead. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That question transforms your mindset. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Every challenge carries a hidden blessing. Every failure carries a lesson. Every heartbreak carries wisdom. Once a potter was shaping clay on his wheel. A passerby asked, "Why are you hitting the clay from outside while supporting it from inside?" The potter smiled and said, "If I don't hit it from the outside, it won't take shape. And if I don't support it from inside, it will collapse." That's exactly what life does. It hits you from the outside but supports you from the inside. The hits give you shape, the support gives you strength. If you remember this, your pain will no longer paralyze you. It will polish you. There's a beautiful Sanskrit verse, "Dukh mi sukh ki khoj karo," seek happiness within sorrow. It sounds paradoxical, but that's where true growth lies. Because every painful experience expands your empathy. When you've been hurt, you understand others' pain better. And that makes you more human, more compassionate, more connected. I remember years ago when I first joined the monastery, it wasn't easy. Waking up at 4 a.m., doing service, giving up comfort, it was physically and mentally challenging. But those days of struggle built discipline, humility, and gratitude within me. If life had been easy, I would have remained shallow. Pain made me profound. So the third rule to win in life is to turn your pain into purpose. Instead of cursing the darkness, light a lamp. Instead of asking why, ask how. And instead of running away from challenges, learn to dance with them. Because, my dear friends, your wounds can become your wisdom if you let them. Now, let's move to rule number 4. Stay grounded while you grow. This one is so important in today's world because, you see, success is not the problem. Ego is. Many people can handle failure, but very few can handle success. Once, a farmer's bullock won first prize in a village competition. The next day, the bullock refused to work. The farmer laughed and said, "It seems fame has gone to his head. We humans aren't very different. The moment we get a little recognition, a little applause, we start believing we are the center of the universe. But remember, the higher the tree grows, the deeper its roots must be. If not, one strong wind can bring it down." In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, "Perform your duty with humility and detachment." Why? Because pride turns blessings into burdens. I once met a famous musician backstage after an event. Despite his global fame, he touched my feet out of respect. I said, "You are the one who deserves respect, not me." He smiled and said, "Swamiji, talent may make me great, but humility keeps me grounded. That's the secret. Success should make you grateful, not arrogant. Because arrogance blinds you, gratitude refines you." Let me share a funny but profound story. A frog once fell into a bucket of milk. He couldn't jump out, so he kept paddling. Hours passed, but he didn't give up. Slowly his movement churned the milk into butter, and finally he hopped out. When asked later what kept him going, he said, "Faith. When success comes, don't stop paddling. Keep working hard, keep learning, keep serving. Because the moment you think, 'I've arrived,' life will remind you that there's still more to learn." Staying grounded means remembering where you came from and who helped you reach where you are. Gratitude keeps you humble, and humility keeps you wise. Once I visited an old temple in South India. The priest told me, "Swamiji, the taller the temple tower, the deeper its foundation underground." I thought, what a perfect metaphor for life. The more you rise, the deeper your humility should go. So, how do you stay grounded while you grow? By practicing 3 habits: reflection, gratitude, and mentorship. Reflection. Spend time each day asking, "Am I becoming a better person or just a more successful one?" Gratitude. Never forget the people who helped you climb. Thank them, even silently. Mentorship. Keep someone in your life who can remind you that the crown you wear is temporary. Because the truth is, You can have everything in the world, but if you lose humility, you lose yourself. A tree laden with fruit always bends. The more you achieve, the softer your words should become. Friends, the world may admire your success, but it will love your humility. Once, after a talk in New York, a young man said, "Swamiji, I want to be rich, but I'm afraid success will change me." I told him, "Don't worry about success changing you. Worry about success revealing who you really are. If your roots are strong, success won't change you, it will amplify you." So, rule 4 is simple yet powerful. Stay grounded while you grow. Because true greatness is not about being above others, it's about being among others with love and humility. You see, when a candle lights another candle, its flame doesn't diminish, it doubles. In the same way, when you lift others while climbing, your light doesn't reduce, it multiplies. And that, my dear, our friends, is the secret of sustained success. Humility in achievement, gratitude in abundance, and grace in growth. Now we've covered 4 rules. Master your mind before you chase the world. Serve before you deserve. Turn your pain into purpose. Stay grounded while you grow. But there's one final rule left, one that ties everything together. The rule that helps you live, love, and leave a legacy. So in our next and final part, we'll explore Rule 5 and the ultimate call to action, how to apply all these principles and truly win in life. My dear friends, we've traveled quite a journey together. We've learned to master our minds, to serve before we deserve, to turn pain into purpose, and to stay grounded while we grow. Now comes the 5th and final rule, the one that ties all others together like a thread through pearls. Rule number 5. Live with love and leave a legacy. Let me begin with a simple question. How do you want to be remembered when you're gone? When people think of you, will they remember your possessions or your compassion? Will they talk about your bank balance or the balance you brought into their lives? Because at the end of it all, my friends, people don't remember what we had. They remember how we made them feel. Once I was at a funeral of a very wealthy man. The hall was full of flowers, but empty of hearts. People came, paid respect, but left quickly. There were no tears, only formality. A few weeks later, I attended the funeral of a humble school teacher. The hall was overflowing. Students, neighbors, even strangers stood with tears in their eyes. That day I realized, a rich life has nothing to do with riches. It has everything to do with relationships. You can have all the wealth in the world, but if you don't have people who genuinely care for you, you are poor. And you can have very little. But if you give love freely, you are rich. Richest person alive. Love, my dear friends, is the highest form of intelligence. It's not about romance or sentiment. It's about kindness, understanding, and presence. A young man once asked me, "Swamiji, what's the greatest investment I can make in life?" I said, "Invest in people. Love people genuinely. Everything else loses value over time, but love compounds with interest. And the interesting thing about love is that it multiplies when you give it away. The more you love, the more love you feel. The more you forgive, the lighter you become. The more you care, the more connected you feel. Isn't weakness, it's strength in its purest form. Once, a small child gave his mother a note that read, "For washing my clothes, 10 Indian rupees. For making my food, 20 Indian rupees. For cleaning my room, 15 Indian rupees. Total equal to 45 Indian rupees. The mother smiled and gave him another note that said, "For carrying you 9 months, no charge. For staying awake when you were sick, no charge. For loving you unconditionally, no charge." The boy read it and tears rolled down his cheeks. He hugged his mother and said, "Mama, the bill is paid in full." That's love. It gives without counting. And that's how we must live, with a heart full of love and a life full of giving. Because when you love, you don't just exist, you truly live. Love has the power to heal the most broken hearts, to unite the most divided people, and to bring peace where there is chaos. You might think, "Swamiji, That sounds beautiful, but the world is harsh. People will take advantage if we love too much. Yes, that may happen. But remember, love anyway. If people are unkind, be kind anyway. If they don't appreciate your efforts, give anyway. Because your actions reflect who you are, not who they are. The Buddha once said, hatred does not cease by hatred. Hatred ceases by love. And that's how real winners live. They don't react to the world's bitterness, they respond with sweetness. They don't compete in cruelty, they lead with compassion. So rule 5 is this: live with love and leave a legacy. A legacy is not a monument, it's a memory. It's not about how many people knew you, but how many were moved by you. Once a student asked me, Swamiji, how can I leave a legacy if I'm not famous? I smiled and said, do you need to be famous to be good? A candle in a dark room may not light the whole city, but it can still make the room brighter. You don't have to change the world, just change someone's world. Maybe there's a child who needs your encouragement, maybe a friend who needs your time, maybe a stranger who needs your smile. These small acts of love are the seeds of legacy. Life is like a bank account. Every act of kindness is a deposit. Every act of selfishness is a withdrawal. When you leave this world, your balance sheet won't show how much you earned, but how much you gave. And when your time comes, the only question that will matter is, did you live well, love deeply, and leave gently? Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I visited a hospice where people were spending their last days. I spoke with an elderly man who said, Swamiji, I spent my whole life earning money. I never had time for my children, and now they don't have time for me. He looked at me with teary eyes and said, I climbed the ladder of success, but I realized too late it was leaning against the wrong wall. That hit me deeply, because so many people live like that, busy climbing, busy competing, but forgetting to live, love, and laugh along the way. My dear friends, don't let that happen to you. Winning in life is not about being remembered by the world, it's about being missed by hearts. So how do we live with love every day? By practicing 3 E things: forgiveness, empathy, and presence. Forgiveness, because holding grudges is like holding hot coal. You think you're punishing the other person, but you're only burning your own hand. Let go. People are imperfect, just like you. Empathy, because understanding someone's pain is greater than solving it. Sometimes people don't need advice. They just need someone to listen. Presence, because love lives in the now. You can't love from your past regrets or future worries. Be there fully for the people you care about. Remember, the people you love won't remember your words as much as your warmth. They won't remember what you gave them, but how you made them feel seen, valued, and loved. Now, my dear friends, as we come to the end of this journey, these 5 rules to win in life, let me remind you of them one last time. Master your mind before you chase the world, because a peaceful mind is your greatest strength. Serve before you deserve, because the joy of giving is the true measure of living. Turn your pain into purpose, because your scars can become your stars. Stay grounded while you grow, because humility is the fragrance of greatness. Live with love and leave a legacy, because love is the only thing you take with you and the only thing you leave behind. Now, before we conclude, let me give you a gentle call to action, something to take home, not just in your notebook, but in your heart. When you wake up tomorrow morning, don't rush into your phone or your to-do list. Sit up, close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself 3 questions. What am I grateful for today? Who can I serve today? How can I grow today? If you live your day with these 3 intentions, your life will become a masterpiece. Gratitude will give you peace. Service will give you purpose. Growth will give you fulfillment. And remember, my dear friends, winning in life isn't about crossing a finish line. It's about crossing your fears, your doubts, your limits, and helping others do the same. Life is short, unpredictable, and precious. Don't waste it chasing what won't matter in the end. There's a beautiful saying, we all have 2 lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. So live your one life fully, with joy, gratitude, and love. Laugh often, Forgive quickly, give generously, and smile always. Because a day without laughter is a day half lived, and a life without love is a life half won. So, my dear friends, as we part today, remember the true winner in life is not the one who has the most, but the one who gives the most, loves the most, and smiles the most. May your mind be peaceful, your heart be kind, your purpose be clear, and your life be filled with light. And as you walk out into the world, carry these 5 rules not as lessons, but as companions to remind you, guide you, and uplift you. Because in the end, life's greatest victory is not about reaching the top, but about touching hearts along the way. So go out there, live fully, love deeply, and win gracefully. Not over others, but over yourself. Thank you very much.